And there have been times when I've done this where I attack somebody back, somebody who made negative comments about my photos on social media, on Facebook. Instead of taking the conversation private, I would publicly attack them back. And it never went well. And there was never a positive result. And it never felt good afterwards. And ultimately, I realized that that was not a really effective way to deal with this issue. Now, as I also mentioned in the book, I don't always respond to negative comments. I have taken advantage of the process where you can block somebody on social media and delete their comments. I've done that a few times. And in all honesty, it's been years. It's been at least 2 years since I've gotten any kind of a negative comment on my work. And even then, it wasn't, I can really count on two hands the number of times that I received negative feedback. So I'm very grateful for that. And most people are really supportive. I've met some wonderful, wonderful people on social media. So I'm really grateful that has been my experience. That being said, I wanted to use a couple of those experiences to fit into our discussion tonight and in the book, obviously. So my first suggestion is when something like this comes up, keep in mind that you're probably not going to get very far with the other person if the discussion is public. If there's other people watching, if there's other people who there's an opportunity for them to chime in or whatever, the ego never wants to let go of its position. It will always try to save face, to the point, as I said, I was absolutely astounded on a couple of occasions where the other person, despite a wall of evidence to the contrary, would not let go of their position. It was completely irrational. And that's another good idea of how we know when we're in the ego. The ego is irrational. It takes everything personally, feels justified in attacking back, and it's like completely irrational. All right, so we talked about this in chapter 6. Defensiveness begets defensiveness, and anger begets anger. By us not responding with either, other people may let their guard down, and this opens the door to a peaceful resolution of our differences. So my part in all these situations is to be conscious of where I'm coming from when I'm interacting with another person. Even though they attacked me, even though they may be unloving, inappropriate, or whatever, I take care of myself, right? That's always the first thing. I make sure I'm safe. I make sure I'm out of harm's way. And then if I choose to engage further with that person, and I can do whatever I need to do to take care of myself. But once I do that, if I choose to engage further, then I've noticed that for me, it's really important to stay out of the defensiveness, to stay out of the anger, because it just builds on itself. So what I want to do is be conscious of where I'm coming from in those moments when I am interacting with that other person. And am I being defensive? Am I attacking them back? Because in my experience, when I do that, it does not lead to a peaceful resolution of that conflict, of that situation. So defensiveness begets defensiveness, anger begets anger. And by being aware of that and making a different choice in the moment, it opens the door to the peaceful resolution of our differences. Now, I have to see myself differently in those situations than I might have in the past, because if I still think that person has power over me, or that person can somehow harm me, and again, this is assuming there's no immediate threat of physical harm or abuse or anything like that. But when I change how I see myself, I begin to change how I see other people. And when I change how I see myself, I don't react with defensiveness. I don't have to react with anger. I can let what's happening be about them. I don't have to make it about me. And then I can decide if it's safe and if it's appropriate. Do I want to engage further with this person? Do I want to try to resolve the situation? Do I want to be compassionate and understanding, maybe even helpful? And that's not always appropriate. And I'm not suggesting that we do that in every case. But when it is appropriate, there is another way, for me at least, to interact with people in those situations. So defensiveness begets defensiveness, anger begets anger. And we want to keep that in mind and recognize that we have a choice. See, nobody makes us feel anything. Even if somebody's attacking me, they're still not making me feel anything. And the reason that's so is, we talked about this in chapters 1, 2, and 3, we have an internal filtering system that takes that information in. Whatever's coming in from the outside world passes through that filter. And that filter is based on who we think we are in that situation, usually based on our past experiences in similar situations. And then we give the situation a meaning, and we react to that meaning. We're not actually reacting to what's going on outside of us. We're not actually reacting to what that other person is doing or not doing. Because I can tell you now, there are situations where in the past, I reacted one way, and then with the same person, in a very similar situation, I react completely differently. If they were the cause of my feelings, if they were the cause of my reactions, I would react the same every time. And I've had enough experience now to recognize that that's not true. That's not how it works. I am choosing, often unconsciously, but more and more consciously, my reactions, what I say, what I do, how I react in that situation. And when I change how I see myself in a more positive way, I feel less threatened, I feel less vulnerable, and I'm much less likely to react with anger and defensiveness. And when I react with less anger and defensiveness, it changes how the other person reacts to me. And then we have a chance to resolve things. We have a chance for a peaceful resolution of that situation.